What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here with another video on Road to UFC, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the full bantamweight division. I'm also making videos about the flyweight division, the featherweight division and the lightweight division as well. If you don't know what Road to UFC is, feel free to read my article completely explaining it and bringing it to light on WeWantPicks.com. I will be putting that in the pinned comment below, as well as my entire list of the whole roster. We've got the bantamweight roster, we've got 8 fighters in there, obviously because it is 8-man tournaments. But before we get in the video, let me just make a quick note. My list may be slightly wrong. Some weight classes may be slightly incorrect. For example, Top Noi is listed as a flyweight in my list, even though most of his fights are at 130 pounds. I did the best with the information I had to put 8 fighters in each weight class, because obviously they're 8-man tournaments. Some of these guys might actually be fighting at different weight classes and I've completely got it wrong, but for the most part I do think that it is pretty accurate. So the first one, we've got Minwoon Kim, who is 10-2, Rooney Nakamura, who is 4-0, Tatsuya Ando, who is 9-2, Tatsuya Ando, who is 13-3-1, Xiao Knows, who is 7-2-2, Roshan Mainam, who is 6-3, Goo Gun Guzman, who is 8-3, and Xiao, who is 27-8. Now that we've quickly gone over the fighters, we're going to be talking about kind of like what their records are and what they've kind of got to show. So we've got Minwoon Kim here. He's 28 years old and he is obviously a bantamweight. Apparently his last weigh-in was at 137 pounds, so 136.7. He does have pretty good wins on his record. He's actually coming off a win against a guy that was 8-2, and he's also beaten Yuta Nizu in the 15 seconds in the first round, who was 19-8 at the time as well. Most of his wins coming recently by decision though, to be fair, but he does have that 15-second KO, so we know he's got KO power early on into the fight. Rooney Nakamura, who is 4-0. You might think, what's a guy that is 4-0 doing in such an experienced division right now? So Nakamura has a background in freestyle wrestling. He's competed in many tournaments over the years, and he did medal at the Japan National Championships 3 times as a senior, claiming 1 silver and 2 bronze, and is the 2017 Under-23s Freestyle World Champion. He also won a bronze in the 2011 World Championships in the Cadet Division, and is a World Cup medalist. So this guy here, man, he's definitely got a very good background in wrestling. He's only 27 years old as well. He's fighting at bantamweight and he's 5'7". His wins as well actually have gone pretty good. Like, he recently beat Alejandro Catano, who was 23-6. That is pretty crazy. That's a great win to have when you're only 3-0, and that win has obviously booked him the ticket to get into Road to UFC, so good for him. And moving on, we're going to be going into some more experienced fighters then, 4-0. So we've got Toshiyomi Kazama, who is 9-2. He's actually only 24 years old, which is pretty crazy, but what's even crazier is he's been signed to Road to UFC off a loss to Shoji Saito, who is 2-2 at the moment. But before that, he did beat a guy that was 8-5 and a guy that was 16-7 as well. So he's getting signed off a loss, so hopefully he can rebound from that. And moving up, we've got Tatsuya Ando, who is a Japanese fighter with 13-3-1 record. He is 32 years old, so he's a lot older than a lot of these guys in here. But he does have, once again, some very good wins on his record, and I feel like he is one of the guys to look out for. He got a draw to Ryo Okada, who was 15-4 at the time, but he then did actually end up beating him in his most recent fight, when he was 17-5. He's got a win over Hayato Ishii, who was 15-3-3, and he also does have a win over Takumi Tamaru, who is 11-1. His most recent loss did come by leg injury in the first rounds to Takafumi Otsuka, and he was a very experienced opponent at the time. But before that, he has been going on very good win streaks. He's got great wins in his career. I feel like he does actually have some of the more impressive wins on his record than most of these guys do here, to be fair. So Shohei Knows, or Shohei Nose, I believe maybe his name could be pronounced. He's 7-2-2. And what's so interesting about this guy's record is the first 2 fights of his career were draws. He's also got a very good amateur record as well. He went 8-0 as an amateur fighter, and he does seem to have won the All Japan Amateur Shudo Championships as well, which was a tournament, 4 fights all in one day, so that's pretty interesting as well. But since then though, he has been fighting at One Japan as well as Shuto, and he did go on a little bit of a losing streak to Ryoji Kudo, who I think I was actually just talking about before, Hikaru Yoshino. And since then he has gone over a little bit of a win streak over some pretty decent opponents. And Ryoji Kudo, I believe, no, I'm talking about someone else. Sorry, moving on. So Roshan Mainam. Now this is a guy that I'm a little bit confused about what weight class he will be fighting as. Tapology does have him listed as a featherweight. But his most recent fight was at featherweight, but he does have previous fights at 135, so I put him in the bantamweight division because how the list works, that is how where he fit in. He's 6-3, and I believe that there's only 2 Indian fighters on the entire roster, so he is one of them, and he's going to be fighting here in the bantamweight division. He is coming off a loss himself to Gary Mangat in one championship, so he does have experience in pretty big promotions like ONE FC, and he does have a couple of good wins on his record. I guess his best win probably is over Peng Shuai Li, who was 9-7 at the time. And yeah, a lot of his wins seem to have been coming by rear naked choke recently, so we'll see if he can get a couple of submissions in this tournament here. He is 5'4" as well, which is quite small for a featherweight, so I did kind of assume to put him in the bantamweight division here. So that's Roshan Mainam. Moving on, we've got Goo Gun Guzman. If my laptop decides to load him, he is 8-3, and he's fighting out of Indonesia. And he's 32 years old as well, so he's also an older guy. He's got a win over an undefeated fighter in his most recent one in a 4-round fight. He retired at the end of the 4th round, so he's got 5-round experience, it seems. He's going to have good cardio as well to retire someone in the 4th round, which is pretty exciting, I would say, to kind of keep your eye on. But apart from that, you know, he's going to be beating pretty good guys that are debuting as well, which kind of buffs up that record a little bit, I guess. He is 5'7", he did last weigh in at 133, so he might be quite small for the weight class, man. He weighed in below 135, so he's definitely able to make the weight easily. We know that for sure. And now Long Xiao. I'm picking Long Xiao to win the whole thing. No disrespect to everyone else, but I feel like that this guy's experience is going to be too much. He's 27-8, which is absolutely crazy considering the fact that he's only 24 years old. And he did lose a split decision to Kristen Quinones. Sorry, he lost a unanimous decision to Kristen Quinones, who was 15-3 at the time on Dana White's Contender Series. But his wins, to be fair, haven't been super exciting. He does have a very good win streak going into that Dana White's Contender Series fight, but the wins that he's have actually aren't super impressive, I guess. The Shinachi Shaimati fight, I guess, isn't too bad because he did beat a guy that was 7-2. But he's got so much experience compared to most of these guys. Maybe I am actually reaching a little bit with the picking to win the whole thing, because I feel like a big underdog to maybe look out for, man, is Rooney Nakamura. He's only 4-0, but if you keep your eye on this guy, there's potential that he could go pretty far in the competition as well. And there's also someone else. I feel like Tatsuya Ando is definitely someone else to keep your eye on as well. 13-3 record. And he's a little bit older, but he's also very experienced, and the guys that he has fought and beaten are actually a lot higher level than the guys that Long Xiao has beaten, in my opinion. So looking at the whole thing, I feel like there's definitely a potential for a very inexperienced guy in MMA, and Rooney Nakamura to pull off a pretty big upset here, considering he's got that wrestling base. He's got a win over a very good opponent who was 23-6 at the time, and apart from that, all of his wins had come very early into the 1st and 2nd round, which is very interesting. But I feel like overall the bantamweight division here that we've got is actually very good. Most of these guys have great records. Most of these guys have great wins as well. They're all quite young as well, so they've got time to develop. My computer just decided to crash, so we'll kind of live with that for a little bit. And I feel like that's probably my computer telling me it is time to end the video. So I'll see you guys later on, man. I'm going to be making featherweight, lightweight, and I've already made the flyweight video at the time of recording, so they're all going to be coming out later as well.